TheJollyFatElf. Welcome back to another episode of Stamping University. In this video, we're talking stamps. You can't stamp without a stamp. So I'm going to walk you through the four most kind of popular stamps. I'm going to show you how I store mine, how to clean them, how they stamp, which ones I prefer, etc. So if we get to the end and if I didn't answer your question, make sure you leave it in the comments down below. And yeah, let's head over to my craft table and I'll show you some stamps. All right, friends, we are at my craft table and I'm going to walk you through the four most popular types of stamps. There are a couple more, like I think some people still use foam stamps, etc. But I'm going to walk you through the four main that you will find for sale on various websites. So I'm going to talk about each of them, kind of give you the pros and the cons, and then we'll move on to how I store them, how I clean them, and then I will show you how you can use them. So we'll do some stamping. So let's start with the first one. This is called a wood mount stamp, and it's exactly what it says it is. It is a stamp made of red rubber that has been permanently adhered to a wooden block. And most often the blocks are sized for the image. So you get the stamp on one side, you get a sticker of the image on the back. So I'm going to be honest, I have a bias against wood mount stamps. Some of you that have been with me for a while know I used to be a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I did not join Stampin' Up! Until they started having photopolymer stamps because I did not want to have to create merely with red rubber. So we'll talk about that as we move along. So one of my main issues with wood mount stamps is they're very, very hard to align. I mean, you basically have to have a T-square, and I don't have one anymore. But like, it would be like this. You'd have a sheet of vellum, you'd line this up, you'd stamp it, then you would take the sheet of vellum, put it on the paper, line this up, and stamp it again. It's just, number one, they're a hassle. Number two, they're huge, so it kind of makes them hard to store. Again, you can't really see through them. And I don't like that we're cutting down trees for a block when we have acrylic blocks. And I know plastic isn't great for recycling, etc. But I mean, you could use acrylic blocks till infinity. You could pass them along, you could give them away, etc. And they're just easier to use. But again, that's just my opinion. I have a bias, but this is a wood mount stamp. Simon Says Stamp has started producing them again. I don't know if Stampin' Up! Still does. You can still find some at Hobby Lobby. I think this is Inka Dinka Doo. I didn't even have any more wood mountain stamps. I had to buy one specifically for this video because I sold all of mine. It's just not something that I want to store. It's not something that I want to use. I find them to be clunky and hard to align or to create with. If you love it and it's your favorite type of stamp, again, we all have very, different preferences, etc. So yeah, so this is a wood mounted stamp. If you like the rubber, but you don't want to use the wood, you can buy what's sometimes called a cling stamp. So this is one from Spellbinders. This is called Peony. So it has the sticker on the back that shows you what the image is, and then red rubber on the other side. So this sticker has a reusable adhesive. So you can pull it off and you can put it on a block and you can stamp and line it up that way, or stamp positioner. You're still getting the crispness of a red rubber, but with the portability and the accessibility and the ability to use a stamp positioner or, to layer a little bit easier. So this, again, sometimes called clear mount, sometimes called cling mount. I know Purple Onion Designs does rubber like this. I think you have to buy Easy Mount with them. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys probably know more than I do. But yeah, so this, if I had to choose between a red rubber, a wood mount, or a cling mount, I would always choose a cling mount because it's just, to me, they're just easier to use. And I am going to show you stamping with each of them. And I will also talk about these storage pockets that I use. But first I want to talk you through all of the different stamps. I'm going to leave those out so I don't have to fight with it. Next, we have photopolymer. And photopolymer, sometimes they're acrylic, is basically plastic. And what I love most about these stamps is just how easy they are to use. So as you can see, they're clear. You can see my coral backing in the background. This is a 3x6 stamp, and this one is as well. So these are probably the smallest that you're going to see for a stamp set. So this is like a 3x6, and again, so easy to see, just so much just better. This is the most common size. I believe this is 4x6. And as you can see, you can create a little scene. You've got a deer and some animals, and then you have a sentiment, and you can just build a scene with these stamps. You guys, if you followed me for a while, you've seen me do one layer stamping where I've used photopolymer stamps to create a one layer card that has no dimension. You've seen me do this and cut them out to make them have dimension. You've seen me, you know, only stamp half of it. Like, they're so versatile and just so easy to work with. And I just think they're far superior to the clunky, bulky cling stamp and the wood mount stamp. Again, my opinion, but yeah. And then last but not least, a lot of companies have started coming out with 6x8 stamps. So these stamps are a bit bigger. You get a few more, and again, you get stuff to make a scene with photopolymer. Not all of them are like that, but a lot of them are. You also get, let me pull this stamp out. I've been playing with this. This is a stamp set from Altenew, and it is one where you can layer up the inks. So you start with a solid, you add some dimension with that, then you add an outline with this one. So it would be really hard. You could do it, but it would be really hard to have to do that with a wood mount or a cling mount stamp. So it gives you a bit more versatility, and they're just so much easier to use. But again, it's really personal preference. So last but not least are some of the ones that I actually really love to craft with, and that's digital stamps. So I have a couple right here. So if you have a die cutting machine, like a Silhouette or a Brother Scan and Cut, you can die cut your digital images and size them to however you want them to be. So you guys have seen me use all of these in a card. So I sized her to fit the entire front of a card. I sized him to go on a little action wobble. This one is the same way. So you can play with the different sizes. I've just started a new digital kind of stamp, working with digital stamps. You guys saw me make this card if you watched that project. So, excuse me, that video. So you can use digital images this way. This is digital paper. This is digital embellishments. This is a digital image, just like this. Or you can cut them out, you know, print them to fit a 4 by 5 1/4 layer, and then you can, you know, make your own scene card or whatever. This is I think it's Rachel Ann Miller. She has a photopolymer stamp with My Favorite Things, but you can also buy this as a digital stamp. So digital stamps, digital papers, which we'll talk about later down the road, are really fun. They're really versatile. A lot of times images are anywhere between $2 and $5. The cool thing about digital images is you can print infinity. Like if you wanted to make, if you wanted to do like mass producing, you could, you know, just print these and get them cut out and get them ready to go. Really fun. You can also find colored clip art on Etsy if you don't want to color. Like if coloring is not your thing, you just want to make cards, you can find colored clip art on Etsy and either hand cut them out or, you know, use a scan and cut or, you know, your Cricut or whatever. and then you don't even have to color ever. And sometimes creators, like this is from the Paper Shelter, when you purchase from them, you get the image already colored, you get a background that's already colored, then you get them separately and you can color them yourself. So I will link to everything that I showed you so far if I can find it. I don't think they produce this anymore. And this is from TLC Designs, which again, I will link it down below, but I will also link some of my favorite digital stamp shops, and there are tons. You can find a ton on Etsy. Let's see. TLC Designs has digital stamps. Stamp Anything, Sweet November stamps. There's a ton out there. You just have to Google and find them. And the good thing about that also is if you are out of the United States and you see an image that someone has used, you can still buy the digital stamp and don't have to worry about paying customs and shipping and all that other stuff. They're really easy to work with, and I will be doing, I'm going to do probably 3 or 4 part series on working with digital stamps. And like I said, we made this card. This is before I've had a chance to color it. So yeah. Digital stamps are really cool. And again, they're so versatile because you can make them big, you can make them small. This is ones I wanted to do for an Easter card that I didn't get around to doing. And I sized them to fit on a slimline card. So again, we're going to be working with these more often. You guys have seen me use other stamps on and on and on. Let me talk real quick about storage since I have them right here. These are storage pockets from Amazon, and I will have everything linked down below. And what I've done is I have cut this coral cardstock to fit inside this this packet, and I like to have it so it helps keep the stamp a little bit more stable. And that one was one of the new ones old ones I did, but now I've started laminating them. So that way, if I lose this piece of acetate, which sometimes happens, I can stick them to this and have all of my stamps available for me. And there are 2 different sizes, and I cut them down to fit. That way I have storage for them. Now I have a Silhouette Cameo, and I used to have a sticker shop. So I make my own labels, and I enjoy that. But a lot of people just use a label, like a Brother label maker. You could do that as well. I just like the look of the printed ones on my printer, and I make mine for my dies and my stencils, which we'll talk about on a different day. So again, I will link these pockets down below. Sometimes I get them from I'll get them from very different places. I don't buy the ones from Avery Elle because I find these to be more cost effective. Is that the right word? And the ones from Avery Elle tend to be a little bit more spendy, but they may be a different quality. I don't know. I've never purchased them. And you don't have to store your clear stamps like this. I'm pretty sure this is how Jennifer McGuire started us doing it. So I think a lot of us in the crafty world just followed along with her. So let's move these out of the way. So when you want to stamp with the photopolymer or the cling rubber, you're going to need either some acrylic blocks or a stamp positioner. So these are what acrylic blocks look like, and mine are a little dirty. In order to clean these, I just run these through the dishwasher when I'm ready. These are from Stampin' Up, but this one is from Hobby Lobby. You can see it has lines on it. Let me bring in a piece of paper so you can see it a little better. It has grid lines on it, and this of course is for a really big stamp. If you are looking into purchasing acrylic blocks instead of a stamp positioner like I'm going to show you, I would encourage you to find the ones that have lines. Amazon has them, Lawn Fawn has them, Catherine Pooler has them. It's just easier to line up your sentiment or line up your whatever you're stamping if you have these available. And this also makes a really good watercolor palette. If you guys saw my video with Anthony's Papercraft kits, you saw me scribble Crayola marker on this, and then I picked it up with the water. So really good if you're starting out and you don't want to make a huge investment. Again, you can find these on Amazon, and I will try to remember to link some down below. But yeah, so these are acrylic blocks. Let me show you how this works. So we'll pull out one of our cling stamps. So again, it has a sticky and it won't come off. And then for the photopolymer, let's pull this one out because I actually used this in my last Crafty Roulette. So the one from Stampin' Up! Is you can buy an entire set. It's a little expensive, but like I said, they have some good ones on, let me show you. So if you wanted to line this up, you could do it. Now, we're going to talk about cleaning stamps, etc. So you can see there I could line it up on the block and stamp it where I wanted it. You don't want to use such a small on a large block like this. I'm just doing this to show you how it works. And again, it sticks just like that. We're not going to talk about ink in this. We're going to do a whole separate video on the ink. But I'm going to go ahead and show you what each of these look like as we stamp. I'm going to bring in a different photopolymer stamp so I can find one I've used. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Let's do these and then let me talk about, oh my word. Okay, so these are acrylic blocks and this is one way to stamp. Another way to stamp is a stamp positioner, and I'm going to show you two. So this one is the Misty, and mine is kind of dirty. This is the Mini Misty. It is by My Sweet Petunia, who used to be a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. She wanted a way that she could do stamp repeatedly or line up, so she created this. This comes with a magnet, you get a pad of paper, and then it also has a piece of foam. When you are stamping with your photopolymer stamps, you want to leave this piece of foam. If you are stamping with a cling mount stamp, you want to remove that piece of foam. And again, you can line these up. There are two different grids that you can use. There's also a grid at the bottom. And you just line them up where you want them, and then you ink them and you stamp it. And you want to hold on to it with a magnet. Now, this is the Mini. She has an original, and I think she has one that's oversized. She's also come out with various tools, like there's like a T-square tool, I think. So I'll have all of that linked down below for you guys. If you're interested, scrapbookpal.com carries this. This is actually where I got mine. But you can really find them all over. I know Tim Holtz has one. I'm pretty sure We Are Memory Keepers has one. They're popular because they are they're ease of use, really. So that's one. And then here, listen, let me just let's do some real talk, okay? I used to be a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, but I no longer support the MLM industry, except for this is the Stamparatus from my Stampin' Up! And again, Stampin' Up! Is an MLM, so it's multi-level marketing, meaning that you have to pay in to be a business owner. Then you basically have to recruit and get people under you if you want to make money. That's kind of the whole, it's not a pyramid scheme, although a lot of people call it that. It's actually not, but that is the, what am I trying to say? Like, that's the business model. So they created this, which is the Stamparatus, which is basically like the Misty or the Tim Holtz one, except this one comes with two different plates. You also have, you can turn this. You have basically 4 stamping surfaces. So if you were stamping like that flower picture I showed you, you could put each stamp on one of these and you can stamp multiple at a time. Again, I don't support the MLM business model anymore, but I will say that Stampin' Up! Really did well on this Stamparatus. I don't think they private labeled this from anybody. If they did, make sure you let me know in the comments. I don't think they did. I really think that they worked with their demonstrators to create this. It's $49, so it's almost the same price as this. It comes with 2 magnets that fit on the back. I've already lost one. Actually, I broke it. So, and it comes with, you know, you can buy grid paper, etc. So, I will link to the general Stampin' Up! Store. You no longer have to purchase through a demonstrator, but if you have a demonstrator, you're interested in this, I would encourage you to buy through them. But yeah, so I still use this. I still show this. This is the one I use every single day, and I really, really love it. So I'm not going to show you how to stamp on this one because, again, you can see, I mean, I've showed it 100 million times. So let me show you stamping with these different ones. I'm going to go ahead and leave this in here. This stamp set is called Spread Your Wings, and this was from My Favorite Things. Again, I picked it up from a Scrapbook Pal. I am on their design team, so I get an allowance each month. Okay, so again, I'm not going to talk to you about ink. We'll do ink in a separate video, but I just want to show you how to stamp. So you just put your, let's do this from scratch, Misty. Let's do this from scratch. Okay, so they literally just come on and off. Hopefully I got the ink off. So one thing to note about your photopolymer stamps is they will stain. They're going to stain. There's really no way around it. It doesn't matter how well you wash them, they will stain. And it doesn't take away from the stamp at all. I mean, it doesn't look as pretty as it did when you first bought it, but again, it doesn't hurt the stamp. So one of the great things about photopolymer and using something like this is, like, if I wanted to create a little scene with butterflies, I could line them up where they are on the paper. I could line them up where they're off the paper. I can line them up whichever way I want them to go, just like this. So this is what I want my little scene to look like. You put it down, you pick them up, and then you just put ink to stamp, and then you stamp it. Sometimes you have to go over it a couple of times and see this, how this didn't stamp very well. That's not a big deal. I can put more ink on it. I can just put it down again and it's better, and I didn't mess up, and I didn't have to use a T-square to get around it. So you could literally ink and stamp hundreds of these if you wanted to. So yeah, so there's that one. Let me show you how you can stamp with an acrylic block. I'm going to go ahead and use the same paper. I don't want to waste paper. Okay, so I'm going to use the same ink. This is the Gina K Obsidian ink. This is one that I use with Copics, so it's just what I had handy. So again, you can kind of see where it is and where it's stamping, but not as much as you can with a photopolymer stamp. And just like that, it worked. And then, like I said, if I wanted to stamp this, I'd have to like look under it and try to make sure I wasn't going on the flower. So again, I have a bias against wood mount stamps, but I just don't think they're worth it. I really, really don't. And again, I'm hit or miss on how it affects the environment. Okay, let's stamp one of these little bitty ice cream cones or a little bitty cupcake. So this is a stamp I haven't used before. Now this is, you don't have to do this with red rubber. When you get this out, it's ready to go. For a photopolymer stamp, what I will do is the side that's going to stamp, it's going to be sticky, okay? So some people say you need to prime the stamp. I don't call it that, but it could be called that. I just take what's going to be the actual stamp, not the backing, and I just run it on the back of my hand to remove some of that sticky. You don't want to remove the sticky from the back, but you do want to remove the sticky from the front because it will stick to paper. So same thing. But if I wanted to put this cupcake in the center of my flower, I could definitely line that up and put it in the center of my flower. I'm not going to, that would be a little weird, but so there you go, just like that. But again, I use these if it's just like something like this, a one-off. If you saw my dragon card, you saw me stamp the balloons on their own. If I'm not like creating a scene, or if I just need something really quick, a lot of times I will use the acrylic blocks. Okay, so let me clean up my area, and then I'm gonna walk you through how I clean my stamp. All right, let's talk about cleaning stamps. You can actually clean your stamps with just plain water if you wanted to. There are some things on the market that you can also buy. First is just plain baby wipes. Now, I don't love cleaning stamps with baby wipes because sometimes they will have lint on them and you'll get lint all over your stamp. But, so like this is our cupcake. You can easily just kind of stamp it and rub it like that. And then this one luckily didn't get any lint. But yeah, so that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is with a chamois. Now this is the one from Lawn Fawn. I think Stampin' Up! Has one. I don't know if these are just like car chamois or what, but you wet it and you just stamp, or you can rub until you get the ink off. And if I'm using this wrong, you guys will have to let me know. This is new. Now, the one thing to know about this, just like your stamps will be stained, this will also get stained. So if you're someone who doesn't like anything looking messy, then this may not be for you. But it cleaned the stamp. I said it cleaned the stamp. So I'm just going to do this until it feels like it's clean. So yeah, and this may not be wet enough, but cleaned it off. So this is a stamp cleaning pad from Nuvo. It has kind of like a fibrous, what is this called, Misty? Fabric. And this is my preferred method. And I had the Stampin' Up! Stampin' Scrub. This one, I don't think they make this anymore. But as you can see, I've used it until it's starting to fall apart. So it needs to go in the trash. So I still use the Stampin' Up! Stampin' Mist solution. This literally says that you can use just water. They also sell their own stamp solution, so it's completely up to you. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray one side, and so I'll just keep the left wet, keep the right dry, and we can do this one again. So you just rub it, rub it, rub it, rub it, and then you dry it, dry it, dry it, dry it, dry it, and there you go. It's completely clean. And again, I think this was $13 on Amazon. It has a magnetic closure. It's very thin. So how you clean your stamps is completely up to you. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you have other questions about stamps, make sure you leave them in the comments down below. I'm going to do my best to answer as many questions as I can. Our next lesson will be all about ink, because you need a stamp, but you also need ink. So inks will be coming next, and then we'll talk about different kinds of paper. Then we'll move into coloring mediums, and we're just going to keep snowballing over each lesson. So if you have any other questions about stamps, storing them, you can search stamp storage on YouTube or Pinterest, and you will find hundreds of thousands of ideas, etc. I will show you my ink storage. Yeah, and so I just store all mine in baskets, and I put them in a cabinet. So I will show you that when we eventually get to the craft room tour. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. The question of the day is, what is your preferred stamp? Do you prefer wood, cling, photopolymer or digital. Don't forget, every video will have a question of the day, and if I don't have a question of the day, make sure you leave a comment, because at the end of each month I will select random videos and select random winners to receive prizes in the mail. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.